Week 6, Script 1. Bonjour mes amis. Cette fois, nous allons parler de métier. Métier. This time we're going to talk about professions. Let's hear some French people talk about their jobs that they do. As you watch and listen, pay attention to the use of the phrases je suis, il est, and elle est, and the way they are used with vocabulary related to jobs. On y va. Let's go. Now let's take a look at some of the vocabulary you've heard. Pause the video and go to chapter 1 in your online textbook. List the vocabulary and presentations and introductions. Scroll down to the question. Qu'est-ce qu'il fait? Or qu'est-ce qu'elle fait? And then look at the vocabulary below those questions. You will see the words like acteur, actrice, chanteur, chanteuse, and coiffeur, coiffeuse. You notice that some of the words related to professions have both masculine and feminine version. Acteur for a male actor and actrice for a female actor. Chanteur for a male singer and chanteuse for a female singer. Coiffeur for a male hairdresser and coiffeuse for a female hairdresser, and so on. The ones that appear in only one version on your vocabulary list, like architect, dentiste, journaliste, and so on, are used for both male and female people who do these jobs. Okay, now that we understand that, let's make sure we understand the rest of the structure for talking about professions. You've noticed that we're using a verb être in sentences like Je suis professeur, il est vendeur, and elle est boulangère. You might also have noticed that this one time we don't use un or une to say a professor or a baker. That's because in French we treat our professions just like adjectives, which means that just like I say je suis intelligent, I also say je suis professeur. I don't need un in front of the professeur. In the same way I say il est sportif and il est vendeur without un in front of vendeur. And of course I say elle est sympathique and elle est boulangère without une in front of boulangère. Okay, now that you're ready to practice this structure yourselves, you've already answered the question. Est-ce que tu travailles? Do you work? Now you answer the question. Qu'est-ce que tu fais dans la vie? Qu'est-ce que tu fais dans la vie? What do you do? Or what's your job? I will begin, of course, with the phrase Je suis. And then use the word that corresponds to your profession. For more vocabulary related to professions and an audio file with pronunciation of the vocabulary, go to chapter 12 of your online textbook. List the vocabulaire and then scroll down to Le Métier Professions. And if you don't find what you're looking for there, try www.wordreference.com, where you should be able to find the necessary vocabulary. So as usual, I'll give my answer first, and you can use this as a model. Je suis professeur. Pause the video now and say what it is that you do. So, were you able to say what your profession is using je suis? No article un or une. And the correct form of the word that describes your profession? Let's imagine, for example, that you are a cashier. If you're a man, you would say je suis caissière. If you're a woman, you would say je suis caissière. Because cashier has both a masculine and a feminine version. If you are, say, an intern, for example, you would say je suis stagiaire. Because intern has just one form that works for both masculine and feminine. Again, all of this is in your vocabulary list from chapter 1 and chapter 12. Okay, let's talk some more about professions. I'm going to tell you about what some people in my family do for a living. And then I'll ask you to do the same. Remember, I'm using mon before male family members and ma before female family members. Here we go. Mon père, il est ingénieur. Mon père est ingénieur. Ma mère est retraitée. Ma mère est retraitée. Mon frère est professeur de musique. Mon frère est professeur de musique. Ma sœur est infirmière. Ma sœur est infirmière. I made sure to use the feminine form of retraité, masculine, retraité for feminine. For my mother, and the feminine form of infirmière and infirmière, feminine. For my sister, I'll put my example back on the screen, and you can follow then as you try saying the professions of as many family members as you can. Pause the video, use your vocabulary lists, and bonne chance. Good luck. Mon père est ingénieur, ma mère est retraitée, mon frère est professeur de musique, ma sœur est infirmière. Were you able to use structures like this? Mon père est, ma mère est, mon frère est, ma sœur est. And then the appropriate version of the profession. If so, très bien. If not, go back over the last few minutes of the video to make sure you understood. Remember, some professions has both masculine and feminine version. So be sure to use the right one depending on who you're talking about. Bien, mes amis. That's all for the segment. À la prochaine. See you next time.